Hi, sixth graders. We're going to begin talking about and doing our Gummie Bear Lab today. So yes, you get to pull out those gummy bears that you held and kept safe from before we left for distance learning. But before we do that, I want you to take out your yellow packets and I want you to turn to page 41. Page 41. Once you get there, you will see that it is the beginning of our Gummie Bear Lab. The first thing we're going to do is I want you to take a pencil and we're going to cross off some of the sections of this lab because we are not able to complete each section. Some of the materials you need are at school, and if you have a triple beam balance at home that you could use, then it would work, but for now we're going to cross off some of these items. So if you look at page 41 is going to stay the same. If you flip to page 42, you will see that you're going to create hypotheses for the different gummy bears you put in different solutions. So you're looking at hypothesis for water, hypothesis for salt water. Because we are not doing a third gummy bear and we're not going to use a mystery solution, you can cross this section off. So you'll be completing 2 hypotheses instead. Don't worry about the materials section. I'll go through all of this in a later time in this video. Flip to page 43 again. Don't worry about all of this. I'm going to again go through step by step so you won't have to worry about crossing any of that off either. If you flip to page 44, this is when you're going to take your pencil again and start crossing things off. Like I said, we're only doing 2 gummy bears and not 3. So we're going to cross off gummy bear number 3 section in the data table 1. Same thing for the data table 2, cross off gummy bear number 3. So really we're only focusing on 1 and 2 in both tables. Flip again to page 45. You'll see a page that looks like this. Because we're not going to be able to find the mass of these gummy bears, we are not going to be doing any of this page. So you can cross the entire page off. You're welcome. If you turn one more time to page 46, you will see that you have some reflection questions. Now, because we are only doing 2 gummy bears and not 3, you are going to cross off numbers 4. Cross off number 4. You're completing 1, 2, and 3. Leave those as is. Cross off 4. And flip again to page 47, and you're going to cross off number 5. Cross off number 5. You will complete the conclusion, so don't cross that out and leave as is. So flip back to page 41, and before we begin with anything, I want you to pause this video, take time to read page 41, and I also want you to take the time to write your hypotheses for hypothesis for water and hypothesis for salt water. What's going to happen to the gummy bear when you put it in water, and what's going to happen to the gummy bear when you put it in salt water. Remember, it's a hypothesis. Doesn't mean it has to be right, but try to do the best that you can. Here is a new list of materials that you will need for your lab. You will need 2 small cups or containers, Post-it notes, paper, or tape to mark your cups. You will need a marker so you can mark them. You will need the 2 gummies that you got from school. You will need salt. You will need a ruler. You also need a bowl or a cup to mix salt in the water together. You also need a paper towel and tap water. Now, something else that we'll talk about later is that you also need 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon. So here's all the materials you'll need. As you can see, I have my gummy bears. I have my Post-it notes for marking the cups, which I have here. I have the salt. Now yours probably comes in like a black cylinder, which is fine. I have a little cup or a bowl to mix the salt and the water together. I have a ruler to measure the bears. I have a marker. And then I have a teaspoon and a tablespoon. And for your reference, what I would encourage you to use is if you have Dixie cups at your house somewhere that you can use, those work the best. So that way when you're done, you can toss them because you're not going to want to eat these gummy bears when they're done. You could also use any measuring cup if you have a 1/4 measuring cup or a 1/2 measuring cup or little containers. Those work just as well, but you don't need a big glass like this for a teeny tiny gummy bear. So try to find something that's a little bit smaller. Your first step is to grab your 2 cups, your 2 gummies, and your ruler. You are then going to label your cups using tape, paper, or Post-its. I'm choosing Post-its because I feel it would be easier. And I'm going to label both of the cups, one of them with tap water and one of them with salt water. So I have my Post-its, and I'm going to make sure that one cup stays with tap water and one stays with salt water. Your fourth step is to record the color and the texture of both gummies in Table 1, which is on page 44 of your packet. So if I look at page 44, here I am and I see Data Table 1, color and texture of Gummy Bear 1 and Gummy Bear 2. So this row is the row that I'm filling in today. Then I'm going to measure both of my gummies. I'm going to measure their length, their width, and their height, all in centimeters. So if I were to take my gummy bear, I'm going to measure in centimeters my length, right? Length of my gummy bear, my width of my gummy bear, and the height of my gummy bear. So every dimension. And once I measure those, I'm going to record them in the table on page 44, in Table 2. So here's where Table 2 is. I'm going to record them in both this one here and this one here. Once you finish with the length, the width, and the height, you need to find volume. We find volume by taking length times width times height. Yes, we know it's not a perfectly shaped object, but we are still going to estimate and find the volume using base times width times height. Then you're going to grab both of your gummies and place one in each cup. So I'm going to place one in the salt water cup. I'm going to place one in the tap water cup. Now you're going to measure about 1 tablespoon of water and about 1 teaspoon of salt and mix into a bowl. Now I realize that that's not a lot of water and not a lot of salt, but really all you need is enough to cover the gummy bear in your cup. I also found that it is okay and it works well if you also mix it in your cup. So you're going to take both of these, dump them in, and then maybe take the end and you're going to mix it around. Mix and mix and mix and mix and mix. And what should happen is that there should be just enough covering the gummy bear in your cup. So we just completed step 8, measuring your water and salt and mixing it in your cup. We then poured it into the cup and made sure that there's just enough that's covered the gummy, and we made sure that we put it in the salt water cup. Okay, step 10 is to pour tap water into the cup just until the gummy bear is covered. Now, if I remember that it was 1 tablespoon, about 1 tablespoon of water will do the trick in the other one as well, making sure that your gummy is covered with water. And then you're going to take both of the cups away from this spot, put them in a spot away from sunlight, and leave overnight.